Hey everyone, today we're talking about the statement that he descended to the dead. So I'll read a couple verses from Ephesians 4. Therefore it is said, when he ascended on high, he made captivity itself a captive. He gave gifts to his people. And when it says he ascended, what does it mean but that he had also descended into the lower parts of the earth? He who descended is the same one who ascended far above all the heavens so that he might fill all things. Now, this is maybe the oddest statement in the Apostles' Creed. So what is it really saying when it says Jesus descended to the dead? Right? We established yesterday that Jesus died and was buried, so it seems like it must be saying something more than that. Now, making it more interesting is if you look, there's other translations that say he descended into Hades, or even he descended into hell. So the early church seemed to think that more was going on here. What was Jesus doing in the time between his death and the resurrection? Typically, we don't give it much thought, right? He was just dead. But there's a tradition that actually says he was doing a lot more. The New Testament alludes to it, as we heard there in Ephesians. There's a verse in 1 Peter 3 that talks about Jesus preaching to imprisoned spirits. And so this is where this idea comes from. One of the terms that's used for this is the harrowing of hell. And so Christ is described as going into hell or Hades to free those who are held by death. Right? He comes in as the conquering king and releases the captives. In art, sometimes this is depicted as Jesus pulling up Adam and Eve, right, who represent humanity. And so, in fact, you can find early church leaders who would say, yeah, hell exists, but it's empty because of Christ. So is this idea a historical reality, or is this something Christ actually did, or is this a metaphorical way of talking about how Christ saves humanity from death? Well, it's kind of hard to say. But I think it's important for us to remember, and this statement reminds us, that if Christ himself went to the place of the dead, he's not going to leave the others who are there behind. He didn't stay. He ascended into new life. So how could he leave humanity in death? Christ's death and resurrection is not just about Christ. He's the representative of all humanity, and so his saving work is about humanity. It's not just about him. Ephesians says this descent and then ascent, it happens so that he might fill all things. And in the end, all means all.